speakers. So first up is Altamush Saeed, who is a prominent Pakistani animal rights lawyer and a figure in nonprofit work in interspecies justice. This topic, with multiple accreditations, including from Lewis and Clark Law School, University of Michigan Law School, Lahore University of Management Sciences, and notably, he is the first Pakistani recipient of the Brooks Institute for Animal Rights and Policy International Scholarship. Among his other achievements and active involvements in the animal justice movement, he serves as the Deputy Director of the World First Moot on International Law and Animal Rights, and an international animal law expert on behalf of Pakistan at World Animal Justice. And most relevant to today's presentation is his role as co-founder of the charity Doings Foundation, Pakistan. In just a minute, we will hear his presentation titled, "What About Farmed Animals? Extending Our Care Beyond Humans in Times of Crises." And we will hear all about the organization's wonderful, almost decade-long work to promote interspecies justice. That is, justice for both human and non-human animals. And especially in challenging environments like his home country of Pakistan, where human rights issues such as malnutrition in children, lack of access to education and healthcare for various marginalized groups are still prevalent. I very much look forward to Altamush's presentation, which will help us reimagine a world beyond anthropocentrism and hierarchies. So please welcome Altamush.
Thank you so much. Firstly, can you hear me? That's okay. And I will just use the screen share function and just confirm if you can see this. So, can you see this? Perfect. I'll take that as a yes. And firstly, I just wanted to thank you. I love the energy that's here, and I hope I can resonate it back because I'm taking a lot of it for myself. Apologies for that, but you can take some for me, and let's support each other and try to be there for the humans, animals, and the environment because we are together on this planet, and there's a reason for that. So my presentations always start with this acknowledgement, and I love that you guys also had an acknowledgement, so I'll just repeat it. We, the members of the human race, acknowledge the harm and cruelty that we have imposed upon animals who are equal citizens of planet Earth. say. My presentation will be divided into 6 parts, and but I'll be using a lot of illustrations and trying to work out what does interspecies justice means and how it has evolved in our own work in Pakistan, and hopefully give some inspiration. So this is my nonprofit's mission and my own life goal as well, to make the world a better place for all life, humans, animals, and the environment, because as I said, we are all here together, and there's a special balance that needs to be maintained. And the thing is, justice is something that connects all of us together. It is true that, we have these interactions between environment, humans, and animals, but we have to see them from their perspective and try to understand their intrinsic value and to come up with solutions that are acknowledging of the vulnerabilities that these individuals have, which includes humans, animals, and the environment on a separate level. So I believe I had a poll question. If I can ask, how many of you know about interspecies justice? I think the poll is about that. Can you share that, Han?
Can we get the
I
poll up?
don't need it particularly, but
yes.
Thank you.
It is up.
Okay, I'll just take 30 more seconds. Just 10 more seconds. Okay, I will end the poll, and I hope you can see the results. So the the idea, the distinction that I want to, bring forward to all of you is that intersection is something that's really important. But that's currently where the world is at right now. And the UN recently, last year, passed a resolution to talk about the connections of human, animals, and the environment. But the thing is, those are just connections. You have to see them from a lens of justice, because uh, in the food system, we do acknowledge that humans, and animals and the climate system, they are all connected, but we have to see them and acknowledge their vulnerabilities, because if we don't do that, we will not be able to propose solutions that are fulfilling for them, because they have a purpose as well, which links to the first session that we had at this conference. So I will just, skip this part. This is just like the work that I do. It's around food, shelter, healthcare, but for all humans, animals, and the environment. And we make sure that they're all in there together. For those who don't know about Pakistan, this slide is just to tell you that we are a tiny country in South Asia, surrounded by India and Afghanistan, but we have a huge population. We have 242 million people. And that basically means there's a huge, demand for food and farm animals in the system. But at the same time, we are economically not at that level to be able to find some alternatives that are more conscientious. Or also because of lack of education and other reasons, we are perhaps not able to understand the side of the animals. And so that's just what I wanted to cover here. And our projects are kind of divided into social empowerment, environmental sustainability, because one single planet, we only have one planet, basic needs for humans, animals, and the environment, and addressing, doing a lot of community kitchens. And slowly we are shifting, making them, all of them, plant-based. And this is kind of like a list of the projects that we do for humans, animals, and the environment. We run a school for students with disabilities. We have a vegan school in Sindh where the disaster happened. We have water projects for humans, animals, and the environment, which will be the focus of this presentation. And lots of interesting things, like we do a lot of tree plantations as well to connect with the environment. And this is where I just want to, speak with you, and you can use the chat box for this. And so I'm going to basically define interspecies justice into three parts. The first part is where you see someone and acknowledge their existence, that they exist. That's the first step. The second step is to see them from their point of view. But for that, you need to actually acknowledge that they exist. And the third step is to understand that there are interrelationships between humans, animals, and the environment, such as sentience, such as the ability to feel emotions, such as the feeling to be loved. So I will just generally ask you, and you can put this in the chat box. What do you see in this picture? And perhaps what do you don't see? And just think about that, and that answer will change. Now, what do you see? These are pictures of our water projects that are installed all over Pakistan. We have 1,500 plus of those, and they're in different areas in the country, and they do a lot of things. But I'll stop here and I'll ask you, perhaps in the last picture, you did not see women, you only saw children. Perhaps what you did not see was that in a country like a patriarchal country like Pakistan, women actually have to walk over 5 miles, perhaps more, just to get clean water for their families. You may not have seen that, but we see it. And they are active beneficiaries of this project. Children, of course, have the same needs as animals and as like we are, like, to have clean drinking water. What you may have not also seen is that droughts are something that's a common occurrence in Pakistan, in many areas of the country. What you may have not seen is that these people don't even have clean drinking water. I'm not talking about food, I'm just talking about water. You can't survive without it. And that affects their causes malnutrition, causes health issues, and lots of other things. You may not have seen those, but through these projects, we're trying to, make that visible. Here, I think you'll see something very special. So these water projects have a dedicated space for the animals as well. But and you, I mean, the animals were not there in the first two pictures, right? Because in many occasions, we do not have these kind of ecosystems or spaces where we can interact with animals from a respectable point of view. So what's really happening at these projects? It's people, they have their farm animals, which includes camels, cows, goats, all these animals. They bring them with them and provide them with water because and this is something that has continuously increased through time. So the first project we did was in 2020, and the number has skyrocketed, like 1,500, as I said. And these projects basically create an ecosystem where humans can see the animals. That's the idea. And if you don't see someone, if you don't see someone's pain, and it can be human, animal, or the environment, you will not be able to understand that they have vulnerabilities. You will not be able to understand that they are more than, what you think they are. So in this picture, what I really want you to see is that water is something that's also important for the planet, for the environment. So while science is there and it's calling that the planet is living, it is. The planet also needs the water. You have to make sure these water projects, you're not using water, like you're not wasting it. You don't have some kind of a mechanism that causes harm to the environment. For example, perhaps using fossil fuels or some kind of mechanism that for where you have to cut open the land, take the plants out, that causes damage, or not check the water table from where you're taking the actual water. You have to do all those things. You may not have seen those, but those are vulnerabilities and those have to be acknowledged. This is kind of the environment that we essentially work in. So you may see the farm animals that live with these people. Essentially, what you may see is that these people have a relationship from a property-based point of view with these animals, like they're just their livestock. But if you go closer and you visit these people, talk to them, you'll see that these are not just livestock. These are, in some sense, in different variations of the word, family for these people. They take care of them. They live with them their whole lives, even though they do take their milk. That's instrumentalization. I acknowledge that, but it's not just property for them. These animals are important to these people, and I'll share an anecdote shortly to explain. This picture, I think, is the most impactful one that out of all that I've shared. The circle bit is actually just one water project that I just showed you before. And what you have not seen in these pictures is the impact of this one single tiny ecosystem where humans and farm animals, can come and interact, have on the society. And look at the people, look at the size of the village, and that's just one. Now multiply that by 1,500. You may not see that. And that's the first step we need to, understand if we want to move towards interspecies justice. But that's just the first step. There's something that we need more. That next step is to basically see the animals or the environment or the people from their point of view, to acknowledge their needs. So while we are, in this picture, you'll see that this is a desert, this is Thar, a desertous area in Pakistan that's always desert, like that's never gonna change. The water is a huge issue. Women have to walk 5 miles in these areas just to get water for their families, their victims. Children do not get access to clean drinking water in these areas. And if that's not happening, for these people to find clean drinking water for their animals is simply really hard, or sometimes not possible. Or when there's, what really happens is because of this inability to see, we often keep the resources to ourselves because we think that we have to feed our families. That's our point of view. That's our point of view of justice. But what we have eliminated is the idea of seeing that animal from their point of view, from their point of justice. So we need to create ecosystems where humans and animals can interact in a respectful way. And we can guide them. That's sure, that's a good step. But what would really be positive would be not to tell the people what's really happening. Let them soak it in. And that's what we did, actually. We have never told these people, not even once, to bring in their animals, but they do. And what we're trying to get out of it is them firstly to see the animals, that they exist, that they bring them to this site. And at these sites, they have this experience, this human-animal relationship, where they acknowledge that these animals have the same needs as they have, which is water. And it can be translated to any different thing like food or shade or anything. In this case, water, because I think that's the single most basic thing, the first thing on the list that you need. Like after that, you have more needs, but this is where life starts. So animals have the same need of life as humans. That's the idea I wanted to basically share forward. And that's the second step. The third step is to basically see the invisible interrelationships, that if these animals have the same needs, then it is logical and possible that they are sentient as well. They feel emotion, they feel pain. They are just like us. That is where you have reached the point of interspecies justice. And that's something I really want all of you to understand, that it's more than the interaction. You have to see someone to acknowledge them, because if you don't see somebody's pain, you will never be able to do anything for them, because for you, it doesn't even exist. And that's the case for farm animal welfare for a big part of Pakistan and perhaps the world as well. So in your own way, you can, find creative solutions to create ecosystems where this interaction can happen in a respectful way. And the context that I want to share this is in the context of disasters. So that's happening all over. I write about this topic. I'm an expert, and through Charity Doings Foundation last year in Pakistan, there was a flood in my country, and we have a huge history. We have droughts, floods, earthquakes, out of which on many occasions, millions of animals have died. In many occasions, we don't even have a policy to collect the deaths of animals. So we don't know. For us, they don't exist. We don't see them. That's the point. So whenever our strategies are planned, we always will shift it towards who we see, who we acknowledge, who exists. That is humans in many cases. And in disasters, this is what happened. So over 1 million farm animals died. I don't want to use the term livestock because live animals cannot be stock. I just don't agree with it, but that's the terminology because they don't see them that way. So 1 million farm animals died. There is no data available because there was no policy, because we did not see those wild animals, for example, all other kinds of animals who died in these disasters. No, nothing, because for us, they don't exist. And we have to change that. We have to make other people realize this existence. That's the first step. 1,700 human beings died. And there was a displacement of over 33 million people. And at one point, Pakistan was 1/3 underwater. And this is something that's happening in other regions in South Asia and in many other regions in Asia. The amount of disasters that have happened in the last year and years, 40% of them were just in Asia. And we don't have a policy or any kind of law in any of these countries, particularly from a disaster sense, where we acknowledge that animals exist. They're not part of the law. And this is something that I also wanted to show you. This is like our work. So what we did was we acknowledged that humans and animals have the same needs and this disasters they're suffering. So what we did was we went into the flood zones and we provided everything that we could to the humans, food, other equipment like malaria kits and everything. And we did the same thing for animals. We set up a vet camp, an emergency vet camp. And we had no expertise in it, but we had to, because we had acknowledged that these animals are suffering and they must survive. And so we talked with the people. We gave them an opportunity to bring those animals with us, that we'll take care of them. We have our vets. They will come in and they will take care. This has never happened in Pakistan. And I'm really trying to change that through the laws or through policy work, so that people see these animals as victims of disasters. But that's just the first step. You have to see them from their perspective. And that's a long story. And so different contextualization like droughts, floods. If you can imagine that somebody exists, you can also imagine that they have a need for dignity. And the birth of interspecies justice comes from this dignity point of view. So these are just some pictures of our water projects where humans and animals are interacting, and we don't tell them anything. It's just magical. It just happens. And a lot of them, like 90%, are just farm animals, all of them. So And we also, acknowledged, this is a different contextualization, just giving an example. When COVID-19 happened in my country, restaurants were closed. So we felt that community animals, I apologize that the term stray isn't there, but it's community animals. These community animals lost their source of food. So what we thought was, let's buy some food and give them to these community animals because they have the same needs. And to this day, we feed them. Another contextualization in the floods was we started a disaster zone school. So we taught children from an experiential point of view, because we acknowledged that they were suffering from trauma. They had lost everything. They didn't have a roof over their head. They could not come to the school without food. So we set up community kitchens, and at the same time, we taught them about animals through art, pottery, creative work. So they could be themselves. They could be kids. And we also set up these food stations. And what you may have noticed is that it's 100% plant-based. So the intersection and setting up a vegan school in a disaster zone in Pakistan is something we have achieved. And we really want to, grow and make more schools, because education is a huge issue. Farm animal welfare is a huge issue. And if you can somehow find a space where you can intersect them and help people, and especially these young children, because, these are the future. But you have to also acknowledge that they're also going through trauma. You have to see that. That's also part of justice, because when you talk about interspecies justice, it cannot just be about animals. It has to be about humans and the environment at the same level. That's something really hard, but it's also something really profound. And I believe that's, kind of our purpose. And just to give an overview of the numbers, in the last 7 years, we have distributed in the last floods over 120,000 kilograms of animal food. We have 1,500 plus water projects for both humans and animals. We have fed, apologies for the term stray, 200,000 plus community animals in Pakistan. And my mom actually feeds them every day. And we have set up a disaster zone fecal school. And something really special I just want to share with all of you. And, it's just as something that happened, is we have been able to set up Pakistan's first disaster zone farm animal shelter. We got this space for free from the community. And we are working with them, and we, through a grant, actually the grant came from HSI, so I'm a huge fan of their work. We were able to build this, and this is how it looks right now. And we're just about to inaugurate this. And at this place, the farm animals will have a sanctuary where they can live, and we will educate the people there. It will have a space for 280 animals. There will be a dedicated space for a vet who will stay there for 24/7. This is in Sindh. And we will work with the community to try to help them see these animals, and then to see their point of view, and then drive them towards interspecies justice. And that's where I'll end. And the source of all justice and everything, and this is something that I'll say all of you, is just be kind. Kindness is the solution to everything. And that is something that I felt greatly today. And I will end that on my presentation on that note. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Altamush. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for your work, and you yourself for being so mindful of the nuanced relationships between humans and animals, especially the people you work with. And I can tell from just the way that you presented just now how mindful you are of even the smallest things like terminology. And I love that your work is so focused on visibility, because it is true that we have to see non-human animals first before we can see that they are vulnerable and exploited.